All right, Ensign Row. This is one of the most blatantly obvious setup episodes they ever did in Star Trek. Like, ever. So, it utilizes one of the plot devices that I find to be most interesting for a TTRPG. That is, getting a call from your command that they need you to go do something. Which I mean, you're the crew on a starship, and you have Admiralty who give you orders on what to do because you're working for them. Makes perfect sense. Honestly, that trope makes sense whether you're Federation, Klingon, or one of the many, many other galactic powers, because all of them have some sort of chain of command. Even the Ferengi, who are mercenaries. They're mercenaries who get paid by other mercenaries. So the mercenaries who are paying you, you see where this is going. Anyways, so Picard and his crew get orders to investigate an incident where a Federation colony was attacked. This, of course, is all set up for the Dominion War, but that's not going to happen for several years. Real world, in universe, I don't even know how to figure out exact number of years. Oh wait, actually, hold on a second. There's a quick and easy way. See, the in universe star date 2368. So the time when this map of the location of Solarian 4 popped up in Tears of the Prophets. Because honestly, it's like this map is kind of interesting, but it's okay. Tears of the Prophets in universe date. Okay, so approximately 5 years later. Okay, yeah, 4 or 5, something like that. Because this isn't like the start of the Dominion War. This is like late in the Dominion War. Because this is season 6 of DS9. So this is pretty late. But yeah, it's like several years later in universe, the Dominion War gets kicked off, and you have the Cardassians acting as open hostiles in a war against the Federation. See, one thing that gets pointed out in TNG is that part of the reason why there's a peace between the Federation and the Cardassians is that the last war with the Cardassians and the Federation was economically devastating to the Cardassians, and the Cardassians haven't recovered economically yet, which is um, obvious foreshadowing. I mean, they don't have like the Cardassians written as being universally monsters, which is quite good. Is that yes, the Cardassians as a whole are bad guys, but that's not a reason to just wander around shooting every Cardassian you see. No, 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 no. That would make you a bad guy, and that is where things get interesting with this because Picard and his crew get called here to investigate and figure out what happened with this colony being attacked. And Admiral Kennelly turns out had a very, very suspect motive because he actually wants to give weapons and arms to the Bajoran rebels in order to get the Bajoran rebels to cause trouble, which kind of predates the whole like Maquis thing that they do later on. But it does give you the idea that the Maquis were actually being secretly funded by uh, the Federation, or rather, Federation intelligence was trying to get the Maquis to weaken the Cardassians. It's a very interesting dynamic because of the fact that they don't really spell anything out. It's secret squirrel James Bond weirdness being done in the background, where even those who are actually genuinely openly supporting it don't actually publicly support it. Yeah, that kind of stuff. But that's actually the entire reason why Ro Laren is assigned to the mission. Ro Laren is the messenger for the secret squirrel people. She can't tell Picard about that without betraying her uh, handler and so on and so forth. Um, anyway, other things with this. As I'm sure you've guessed what I was saying earlier, it turns out that it was actually the Cardassians who attacked the Solarian system. The Cardassians were hoping to make it look like the Bajorans did it. I'm really not sure why the Cardassians thought the Federation would come to that conclusion, but that was apparently their goal. Um, Obviously, if you're writing this in a TTRPG, you know, having hostile political powers do clandestine operations against each other, the sort of black ops operations where people get killed. Everyone knows someone got killed. The question is figuring out who killed them. And that is the kind of story that this has. Is the Solarian 4 colony was wiped out. They sent out an emergency distress signal, which was received by the Enterprise, and okay, I guess that they did pick up a few survivors. Oh yeah. Well, as the people, as the actual like viewers, though, we don't actually see this because we get the information about this from the perspective of Picard's crew. Picard's crew, they find some of the survivors and haul them off, but the survivors didn't actually see who was firing on the colony. And of course, there's the adequately James Bond plot device where you have someone make a claim to have been responsible for something, and then you later find out that it was physically impossible for the person who was claimed to have been responsible to have actually done what people thought he was responsible for. This, of course, being Orta, a Bajoran who was horribly scarred as a result of the Bajoran Cardassian War, and actually needs a cybernetic implant to be able to speak. This cybernetic implant does not sound particularly normal. So, when the Federation receives a message claiming to be from Orta, that just sounds like a normal person talking. The Bajoran resistance people are like, that's wrong. Because again, horribly disfigured because of stuff that happened to him in the war. Yeah, this is one of those episodes where they talk about how horrible the Cardassians were to the Bajorans, where the Cardassians would, methodically torture people for the fun of it, and so on and so forth. There's actually one moment where Laren talks about how she had kind of sort of uh, part of the reason why she became a Starfleet officer was because of the fact that it was better than trying to be a Bajoran officer because she just couldn't find it inside her to actually want to be a Bajoran officer after the horrible things that had happened to the Bajorans. Hmm. One of which was supposedly her father being tortured to death in while she watched. Yeah, yeah. Rolaren, all kinds of emotionally damaged. Anyway, though, this is one of those like tragic backstory episodes too, because um, Rolaren is the perspective for the Bajorans, and Rolaren is someone who had multiple negative issues with the way that the Cardassians had been treating the Bajorans during and after the war between the Cardassians and the Bajorans. And of course, all sorts of, crazy stuff. It's like, why didn't the Cardassians kill the guy? Why did they go to the time and effort of horribly maiming him like this and, you know, have him be alive afterwards? Again, plot happened. I don't know what that particular plot device is. But that's the sort of thing that a player would ask you questions about during a game. That is another thing with this. This is a very lore dump heavy episode. Because of the fact that they're doing setup, they have to explain a whole bunch of things. Like explaining that the Cardassians were the bad guys in the war between the Cardassians and the Bajorans. Explain that the Bajorans are actually pissed at the Federation for um, not intervening on the side of the Bajorans. Because, okay, I already established that there was a war between the Cardassians and the Federation. The whole reason why there's a demilitarized zone between the Cardassians and the Federation was the result of a peace treaty. The creation of the Maquis was because of the fact that many of the people living in the DMZ felt abandoned by the Federation and forced to resort to vigilante justice in order to um, maintain order and stuff. And thus, you have all of these disgruntled people who are, in some cases, literally forced out of their homes as a result of a peace treaty at the end of the war between the Cardassians and the Federation. Okay, so why exactly is Orta have a grudge against the Federation for not doing anything? And that's kind of weird. Oh, yeah, that's one of those really like super deep backstory things because that's where this episode goes. This isn't one of those episodes where you have exciting combat. No, 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 no. This is one of those episodes where you talk about uh, the tragic backstories of people, and you find out things about people that you didn't want to know. But you're here to talk about tragic backstories, so prepare to be lore dumped with tragic backstories, like all of the tragic backstories. Actually, there's only two that we really get a huge amount of detail on: Orta and Rolaren. Bunch of other Bajorans in this episode, though, because Orta has his own little cabal of resistance fighters. He's definitely not alone. Yeah, Rolaren was chosen for this mission because as a Bajoran who was sympathetic to the resistance cause, they figured she would be easier to pass on a message to Orta than having someone like Picard just walk up to him. Thing is, the people try, specifically Admiral Kennelly, trying to get Rolaren to do this, don't actually know what Orta's been up to. And then they find out that Orta's resources aren't as great as they thought. Orta hasn't been doing half the things they thought he was because it's all a shell game. Orta's doing stuff to make it look like he's more important than he really is because he's trying to bluff the Cardassians. And that is a huge thing uh, that Kennelly gets confused by because Kennelly buys it. And that's part of the reason for Kennelly sending Rolaren to offer the back room deal to Orta. And yeah, that is a heck of a plot. I mean, oh, okay. I mentioned that this episode didn't have a lot of combat. There is some combat here because, you know, we do have scenes in the episode where we have ships shooting at things, but it's not like Picard's crew has to fight to the death against a Cardassian warship. Now, that doesn't happen because this is James Bond stuff. You're trying to avoid open conflict by sabotaging enemy assets instead of fighting in the open. Which, of course, means that you spend more time talking about what you're doing than actually doing things. Because, if it was just the action, you'd have like 5 minutes of episode. And this has to fill an hour-long time slot. Anyways, but yeah. Oh yeah, also the Velo system. Um, it's technically not in Cardassian territory. That's one of the tricks with this is that these Bajoran splinter groups aren't actually in Cardassian space because if they were in Cardassian space, the Cardassians would be able to just walk up to them and be like, "Excuse me, I'm here to kill you now." Bye. Yeah, that no. Which of course makes things a little more interesting because the Cardassians don't actually know where the Bajorans are, and they don't want to spend too much time in Velo because it's not Cardassian space. That was one of the other things with this whole Bajoran resistance thing is that by the terms of the treaty with the Federation, there were certain regions of space called the demilitarized zone where the Cardassian Navy was not allowed to go. Yeah, the Bajorans loved that. Like, oh, hey, so the Cardassians aren't allowed to come in this solar system? Okay, we'll live here now. Yeah. Pretty sure Velo was somewhere inside the demilitarized zone. It doesn't actually say specifically here. I guess the episode didn't actually specify exactly. Just it's near Cardassian territory. But yeah, it's like if it was in the demilitarized zone in a location that's officially not Cardassian territory, that would make perfect sense given what they've described about it. But yeah, um, oh yeah, also the Garen incident. As part of Laren's backstory, there is this talk about an incident where Laren was somehow involved with something happening that resulted in 8 Starfleet officers getting killed. This is also an interesting one, is because while she did get court-martialed and punished for disobeying orders, they didn't actually kick her out of Starfleet. They demoted her to ensign and locked her in jail for a while. And then she got reinstated as an ensign. Huh? Yeah. Oh, and after she died, Picard is like, oh well, so she I think she would have been a good officer if not for things happening. Um, uh, hard to say because this is one of those things where she's someone who is very emotionally out there. Anyway, though, so yeah, I guess this is a good place to call it. We don't see them. We just hear it talking about how they all ended up getting killed, and that's actually another point is that they don't actually explain how Rolaren was responsible for them dying. They just mention that it happened and don't go into details. I'm sure you can guess where this is going. Yes, players would absolutely ask for details. Maybe. See, because it's one of those things is that you never know exactly what people are going to be like. Ooh, tell me more, and start compiling a three-ring binder with a backstory, or maybe they just won't care. Hard to be sure ahead of time, but in a story like this, the lore dumping is the whole point of the story. It's setup. You're introducing the idea of the Bajoran Cardassian War and that the Bajorans and the Cardassians still hate each other. Mostly. Boy, did that get complicated. Because let's face it, it doesn't matter which side of the war you're on. You're going to find someone who is going to decide he likes the other guy better than you. Oh boy. Well, I'm gonna call it there. See you guys later.